The US-China trade war sent shockwaves through the global economy. It forced businesses to rethink their supply chains and strategies. This conflict accelerated a shift already underway. The world was moving away from a unipolar system dominated by the United States. Emerging economies like China sought a greater role. The trade war highlighted the vulnerabilities of global interdependence. It also underscored the growing importance of regional trade blocs. This trade war had a profound impact on North America. Mexico found itself at the center of a geopolitical shift. Its proximity to the US and existing trade agreements made it an attractive alternative to China. As tensions escalated, businesses began to diversify their manufacturing base. Mexico emerged as a prime destination for nearshoring. This strategy aimed to reduce risks associated with distant supply chains and geopolitical uncertainties. The trade war's consequences extended beyond economics. It strained diplomatic relations and fueled nationalistic sentiments. The conflict exposed the fragility of the rules-based trading system. It raised questions about the future of globalization and the potential for deglobalization. In this new environment, countries and businesses alike had to adapt to survive. In 2023, a significant shift occurred in the global trade landscape. Mexico surpassed China as the largest importer of goods to the United States. This marked the end of China's two-decade reign as America's top trading partner. The shift highlighted the impact of the US-China trade war and the growing importance of Mexico in global supply chains. Several factors contributed to Mexico's rise. The USMCA, which replaced NAFTA, strengthened trade ties between the US and Mexico. The agreement provided certainty and stability for businesses operating in North America. Mexico's manufacturing sector also benefited from ongoing investments in infrastructure and skilled labor. This shift in trade flows had significant implications for both countries. For Mexico, it presented an opportunity to boost economic growth and create jobs. For the United States, it offered a way to reduce reliance on China and strengthen regional supply chains. However, this shift also came with challenges. Mexico faced pressure to ensure its labor and environmental standards met U.S. expectations. The country also had to address security concerns along its border with the United States. The USMCA, while strengthening trade relations, inadvertently created a loophole that China exploited. This loophole centered around the concept of substantial transformation. The agreement stipulated that goods substantially transformed in Mexico qualified for tariff-free entry into the United States. This provision aimed to promote regional value chains and encourage manufacturing within North America. However, the definition of substantial transformation proved to be a point of contention. Chinese companies began to exploit this ambiguity. They shipped components and raw materials to Mexico for final assembly or minor processing. The finished products, despite having a significant portion of Chinese content, were then labeled as made in Mexico and entered the U.S. market tariff-free. This practice, known as transshipment, allowed Chinese goods to circumvent U.S. tariffs imposed during the trade war. It undermined the effectiveness of U.S. trade policy and raised concerns about unfair competition. The U.S. government began investigating these practices and sought ways to close the loophole. However, addressing the issue without disrupting legitimate trade flows proved to be a complex challenge. China's use of Mexico to circumvent U.S. tariffs was not limited to exploiting the USMCA loophole. Chinese companies, attracted by Mexico's strategic location and growing manufacturing base, began to invest heavily in the country. These investments flowed into various sectors, including automotive, electronics, and energy. One prominent example was the influx of Chinese automakers into Mexico. Companies like BYD and Chery established manufacturing facilities in the country. They took advantage of Mexico's lower labor costs and preferential access to the U.S. market. The arrival of Chinese automakers intensified competition in the North American auto industry. Beyond manufacturing, Chinese companies invested in infrastructure projects in Mexico. These investments aimed to improve logistics and transportation networks, further facilitating the flow of goods between China and the United States via Mexico. Section 5. Logistics boom, challenges and opportunities at the border. The surge in trade between China, Mexico, and the United States fueled a logistics boom along the U.S.-Mexico border. Companies involved in transportation, warehousing, and customs brokerage experienced a surge in demand for their services. The border region became a hub of activity as goods flowed in both directions, Cross-docking facilities where goods were transferred from Mexican trucks to U.S. trucks proliferated along the border. These facilities streamlined the transportation process and reduced shipping times. Logistics companies invested in expanding their trucking fleets and warehousing capacity to accommodate the increased volume of trade. However, this logistics boom also brought challenges. The infrastructure at the border struggled to cope with the increased traffic. Trucks faced long wait times to cross the border, leading to delays and increased transportation costs. The shortage of truck drivers in both Mexico and the United States exacerbated these logistical bottlenecks. Section 6. Political pressure, navigating trade tensions. The use of Mexico to circumvent U.S. tariffs created political tensions between the three countries. The U.S. government, under pressure from domestic industries, sought to address the issue of transshipment. U.S. officials engaged in diplomatic efforts to persuade Mexico to crack down on these practices. Mexico, caught in the middle of the U.S.-China trade war, faced a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, the country wanted to maintain good relations with its largest trading partner, the United States. On the other hand, Mexico sought to avoid antagonizing China, a growing economic power with significant investments in the country. The issue of transshipment highlighted the complexities of managing trade relations in a multipolar world. It underscored the need for clear rules and effective enforcement mechanisms to prevent the abuse of trade agreements. The political pressure on Mexico to take sides in the U.S.-China trade war tested the limits of its diplomatic skills and its ability to safeguard its own economic interests. Section 7. Economic Implications, a Balancing Act. The economic implications of China using Mexico to avoid U.S. tariffs were far-reaching. For the United States, it meant job losses in manufacturing as production shifted to Mexico. It also led to a decline in U.S. manufacturing competitiveness, as Chinese goods, often produced with government subsidies, entered the market at lower prices. Mexico, on the other hand, experienced economic benefits from this trade triangle. Chinese investments created jobs and boosted the Mexican economy. The surge in trade activity generated revenue for the Mexican government and strengthened the country's position in global supply chains. However, Mexico's dependence on China as a source of investment and a market for its exports raised concerns about over-reliance. Some analysts warned that Mexico risked becoming overly dependent on China, potentially jeopardizing its economic relationship with the United States. Section 8. The future of North American trade collaboration or conflict. The use of Mexico to circumvent U.S. tariffs highlighted the need for greater collaboration and coordination among the three North American countries. The USMCA, while providing a framework for trade, needed to be strengthened to address emerging challenges. One area for improvement was the enforcement of rules of origin. The USMCA needed clearer guidelines and more robust mechanisms to prevent transshipment and ensure that goods traded within North America met the agreement's requirements. Enhanced customs cooperation and information sharing among the three countries were crucial to achieving this objective. Furthermore, the three countries needed to address the issue of non-market practices. China's state-led economic model, which often involved government subsidies and intellectual property theft, created an uneven playing field for businesses operating in North America. Addressing these issues required a coordinated approach that involved diplomatic engagement, trade remedies, and potentially the creation of new trade rules. Section 9. Conclusion: a trade triangle, reshaping the global landscape. The trade triangle involving China, Mexico, and the United States has reshaped the global trade landscape. It highlights the challenges and opportunities of navigating a multipolar world where economic interdependence intersects with geopolitical rivalries. The use of Mexico to circumvent U.S. tariffs underscores the need for adaptable trade agreements, robust enforcement mechanisms, and coordinated responses to unfair trade practices. It also highlights the importance of regional trade blocs in mitigating global trade tensions and promoting economic stability. The future of this trade triangle remains uncertain. Whether it leads to greater collaboration or heightened conflict will depend on the actions of all three countries. The stakes are high, as the outcome will have profound implications for the global economy, the future of globalization, and the balance of power in the 21st century.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.